Yo, what's up guys? It's Andrew from GarageBandProfessional.com. Today I'm going to show you how to separate the drummer track into individual files. Or in other words, how to take a drummer track and then separate it into each individual part of the kit. So for instance, you have a track region for the kick, the snare, the hi-hat, the cymbal, the ride, the crash, and so on and so forth. Shout out to Federico from Novand Uno. I don't know how to say their name. I don't know how to say the name of the band. It's in Italian. But yeah, check out their SoundCloud. I'll put the link in the video description. But anyway, so let's get into it. So first things first, in my article in the tips and tricks for the drummer track, I said that in order to turn your drummer track into a MIDI file, you copy and paste it. And yes, that's what you do. So you go like that, copy and paste it. Now normally what I did just there, it would turn it into a MIDI track, but because this is the drummer thing that my client sent me, Federico, it's not the project file, so it's not going to send the MIDI. It's not going to send the MIDI. It's just going to be the audio. But if you just have the regular project files and you do this, it'll turn it into MIDI. Anyway, so let's move on to let's just move on. So here's a drummer track, right? And I already have it converted into the MIDI. So I'm gonna mute that. Let's take a listen for a sec. Oops. All right. So the reason why you want to separate the drums is because then you can mix it, right? Then you can pan the drums, you can pan the snare, you can pan the hi-hats, you can pan the cymbals, you can pan everything. You put compression and a bit of overdrive on the kick, maybe a bit of drive on the snare. I don't know, maybe you can compress the hi-hat a little bit. Maybe you can just EQ the hi-hat a little bit. It gives you so much more room to customize and mix your drums. Because if you just try and mix the whole thing together, I mean, as one track, well, frankly, it's no good, So anyway, let's get started. So first things first, let's take a look at the MIDI region right here. So you can see all the MIDI right here, right? So this bottom one right here, you can assume it's the kick just because it's the lowest one. And it is the kick. So what you do is you do this. You select all of them, right? You select all of them like this. You select all of them like that. You make sure you got all of them. And then you look at the grid line at which it starts. So you go, okay, it starts on the 6th grid line. So you're going to go down here, get the pointer, copy and paste. Boom. And I usually extend it all the way just because I find that, I don't know, I just like things to be equal. It's maybe a bit of OCD. Anyway, so let's move this over to the 6th grid line. Let's move it over to the 6th grid line here. There. So now it's at the 6th grid line. So that's the kick. So now we're going to name the kick. There. And now we're going to move on to the next one. So we're going to go new track with duplicate settings. Then we're going to look at the reference track. And then we're going to go, okay, so what's this one now? This is probably the snare. Yeah, it's the snare. So we're going to select every single one while being careful not to select ones that we don't want. Hit Command C to copy all of them. Make sure you got everything. Make sure you got everything. Yeah, great. So now you look at the reference track there. It's the line exactly in between 5 and 6. So we're going to go like this, drop the pointer like that, boom, extend it. You don't have to do that, but I like to do it. So where was it? Oh, it was in between 5 and 6. Yeah, so let's move it over. By the way, I got a present for you. Go to producersociety.com/free mixing cheat sheet. That'll put you on my list to get a free mixing cheat sheet. And I send all kinds of cool tips and stuff that I don't share anywhere else. You can also join my forum at forum.producersociety.com. For now, it's totally free to sign up, but in the future, I'll probably lock it down and then turn it into a full course platform. In between 5 and 6. There's your snare. Now remember, it's extremely important to label them. Extremely important, because it's a nightmare. I mean, if you don't label your tracks, good luck, man. Yeah. So anyway, as you can see, this is quite time consuming. But I mean, it's worth it, man. Like it's 100% worth it. Definitely worth your time. In fact, it's not even worth it. It's essential. It's essential. All right, so now we're going to move on to the next part of the kit. So I usually just go from bottom to top, frankly. Not always, though. Let's do this one next. I believe these are the hi-hats, judging just by how many of them there are. Yeah. Or it's not the hi-hat, it's the I forget what it's called. I'm not a drummer, so I don't really know what the names of all the instruments are. I just said schmar. Anyway, so let's select all of them while being careful not to select the ones we don't want. So I think it was just those ones in the beginning. I don't think there's any other ones in the entire song. Oh, there we go. So there was just a couple in there, mostly in the intro and then towards the end. So let's run back through, make sure we didn't miss anything. There, we got the two right there. Command C. Now let's call it the soft hi-hat. We'll call it that, just to distinguish it from the others. Differentiate it, excuse me. So we're going to go drop the pointer, then we're going to go Command V. There we go. So now we're going to look at the reference track. And at which point does it start? It starts right on the first grid line. So let's go down here. Yeah, it's exactly in the first grid line. Okay. So now we're going to move on to the next. And you just keep going, man. Like, you just keep going until you're all the way at the end. I'll usually leave the toms for last. Yes, I do. I say this is I think we'll call this the loud hi-hat. So we're going to select all of them. There, that looks like it's all of them. Command C. Now we're going to look at which point it starts. It's at the in between the 5 and the 6. So we're going to drop the pointer. Boom. Extend it. In between the 5 and the 6. So let's slide this over. It's worth noting that you should memorize at like what note it is, what MIDI note, because you don't want to like all of a sudden lose track of where you're putting the notes. So this is an A sharp, so it's just A sharp 1. It's just something to keep in mind. A sharp 1. There we go, A sharp 1. Now let's look at it. There, looks juicy. Chicken chow mein. All right, now let's name it. We'll say it's the loud hi-hat, because I don't know what it's called. All right, new track with duplicate settings. And yeah, man, you just keep doing this over and over again. This is going to be very repetitive. I'm going to be saying the same stuff over and over again. So let's move on to the next part. I already did this. Let's do the next one. That's like a tom, I believe. Yeah, that's a tom. So I usually, what I said before was wrong. I don't usually go from top to bottom. What I really do is I go by how many there are. So if there's a ton of them, I like to get them out of the way, like right away. There we go. Now, Command C. Let's make sure I got all of them. Just scan back through. Just scan back through. It's C2, that's the MIDI note, and it starts at 62. Starts at 62. Drop the pointer, Command V. So this is a tom. Yeah, C2 at 62, I think I said. C2 at 62, there we go. Excellent. You know, maybe someone has a better way of doing this. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, like I just don't know if there's a better way. Maybe there is. Maybe there's a way that GarageBand will just do it all automatically for you. I don't know of it. So I imagine this will be Tom 2, so we're going to name that right now. Tom 2. So we're going to go back up to the reference track again. That's the crash. Did I do the crash? I don't think I did. Yeah, let's do the crash. So this is the crash. I believe that's what it's called. So it's, what note is that? C sharp 2. So let's select all of them. Command C. And it starts exactly on 6. So let's name it. That's the crash. I already forgot at what point it starts. Let's look back at it again. Yeah, it starts at 6 and it's C sharp 2. Yeah. Starts at 6, C sharp 2. Starts at 6, C sharp 2. C sharp 2 starts at 6. There we go. C sharp 2 starts at 6. I don't know about you, but I repeat it. I just repeat things out loud. I find that it sticks in your mind better. New track with duplicate settings. All right, let's move on to the next part of the kit. So we just did the crash. There's one at the very beginning of the drums. There's a hi-hat, or I forget what it's called. I don't know what it's called at all. I think it's a cymbal. Yeah, it's a cymbal. So let's just name this the cymbal, and we'll get that one over with right away. Let's copy and paste it. Remember, I said that I like to extend it all the way. I just find it looks cool. Looks better. Let's find out which point it starts at, though. It starts at 2. It's F2, and it starts at 2. F2, and it starts at 2. There. All right, let's move on to the next part. That's the crash. Or that's the crash, excuse me. This is the hi-hat. So that's pretty much everything. And we did that tom already. So now we're going to get into the hard part. We're going to get into the hard part, which is doing the little toms. Because they're a bit of a mess, to be honest with you. So here's this one. Let's see if there's any others. No, it's just in this little section right here. Yeah, so Command C, it's Command C, so it's A1, that's the note. It's A1, Command A1, and it starts at one line before 62 and 62.3. One line before exactly halfway. The chance of me remembering that in the next 3 seconds is probably 0. Alright, so there we go. So now we're going to move this over. What was it again? A1, and then it was A1, A1, gotta zoom in. A1. Yeah, it was right here. It was the line before halfway. There we go. Now let's take a look at the reference track one more time to make sure that was correct. Let's zoom in. So it's one line before the halfway point between 62 and 62.3. So let's zoom in on this and make sure I got that right. One line before 62 and 63. Yeah, 62.3. All right, so we're going to move on to the next tom. Make sure you label that. So that's tom 2. That's tom 2. So let's just move this over right now and get it right beside the other tom. There. And then let's go back up here. So now we're going to move to the next part of the tom. It's looking like it's just these two notes right here. Oh no, that's the hi-hat thingy. Did I get that one? Tom 2. Did I get that one at the end? Yeah, I did. So let's go back up. See, this is where it gets kind of confusing. Like, it's like you have to be careful of what you're doing. So I guess it's these ones then. It's these ones right here. Or is that a hi-hat? Alright, let's just do these toms instead. Let's just do those toms right there. Let's get the toms out of the way. Because they're a nightmare. They're a nightmare. So that's tom 3. So new track with duplicate settings. Boom. Let's label that. Drop the pointer. Bam. There we go. Now I gotta go back to the reference track and find out at which point the toms began. So it starts at 64. So we're gonna go down to tom 3. Let's drag these all the way over to 64. It's F1. Wait, I think I already did F1. Or I guess I didn't. Huh. See, that's where it gets a bit tricky, you know. So that, and then there's this added snare. I think it's a snare. It's a different kind of snare. So let's select it. Let's make sure there's no other on that line. So we're going to call it snare 2. New track with duplicate settings. Rename it. Snare 2. Copy and paste, extend it. Then we're going to look at the reference track, find out at which point it started. It starts in between, it starts 2 lines before 62.3. 2 lines before 62.3, and it's E1. 2 lines before 62.3, E1. 2 lines before 62.3, E1. 2 lines before 62.3. There we go, 2 lines. Let's bring it up to E1. There. Did I get the other one? Yeah. Okay, so that's snare 2. And I think we're starting to get close now. We're starting to, I think that's almost all of them. Yeah, I already did the A1. That's the hi-hat. A1. That's the snare. So I think that's all of them. That's all of them. So what we're going to do now is we're going to slide that down like that. See, look how many tracks there are, man. Like, the drum kits are massive. And that's why it's so important to do this, because you can customize it and mix everything and make everything sound a lot better. Truthfully, I haven't been mixing drums for very long, so I'm still not that great at it, but it just gives you an idea of what can be done. I mean, I don't know, man. Panning is probably my favorite aspect of mixing right now. I really enjoy panning. There's just something about it that I find cool. I find it interesting. So anyway, let's listen to it. Let's mute this one. Let's take a listen. Sounds all right to me. Sounds all right to me. All right. So that's it for this video. It took 20 minutes exactly to do that. So, I mean, it doesn't take a terribly long time, but, you know, 20 minutes out of your time. But, you know, as I said before, it's essential. It's essential if you want a dope mix. So, yeah, I'm going to call it in for today. And, yeah, make sure you check out my website at GarageBandProfessional.com. Check out Novant Uno. And, yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.